Anarchists are alive and well in America. I know this to be true because they bake me cookies. When I came to the town of Grand Junction in the serenely scenic sovereign state of Colorado, I was horribly hungry, disastrously dirty, and raggedly raimented. I came off the road with the entirely innocent, immediate intention of getting a free meal, a hot shower, and a change of clothes. My dog Duke and I found a secluded spot beneath a bridge crossing the Colorado River. I carefully constructed a cleverly concealed camp and wistfully walked my delightfully dumb dog Duke into town. We crossed the Fifth Street Bridge overlooking the train yard and came upon Whitman Park. I was surprised to learn that the park wasn't named for Walt Whitman, the distinguished required reading Yankee poet, but for Marcus Whitman, who had procured his permanent place in posterity by showing up early and having a park named after him. The actual name of the park is unimportant, for everyone in the town of Grand Junction refers to the park as Bum Park. Although we'd arrived in Grand Junction in early September in the midst of an unseasonably warm spell, I was mildly miffed to find there were no actual bums on display, at least not in the British sense of the word. There were, however, quite a lot of tramps, homeless itinerants, vagabonds, and other layabouts, and considering the physical condition of the park's inhabitants, perhaps the absence of visible derrieres was a blessing. Once I had vanquished from my mind this visceral vision of a public space where everyone walks about with their trousers about their knees, I refocused on my initial intention to obtain some social services and then return to the highway to resume my travels. The choices available to a homeless traveler when entering an unfamiliar town in search of public assistance are as follows: to go to the public library, search through the phone book for the addresses of homeless shelters, rescue missions, Salvation Armies, etc. Then find a city map and attempt to ascertain where such entities are located in relation to the library. This method, although sometimes necessary, is time-consuming and often futile. A more effective method is to find a place like Bum Park, purchase a jug of alcohol, sit back, and wait for the needed information to come to you. In the town of Grand Junction, I chose the latter option. Within a short period of time, Duke and I had gained some new friends, as well as some valuable information. I learned that Catholic Charities had two separate facilities within walking distance of the park. The first and closest was a drop-in center, where one could get free coffee, a shower, do laundry, use the phone, store one's gear, get out of the weather, smoke cigarettes on the patio, read books and magazines, and meet people in similar circumstances. People who could tell me when and where I could sleep out, panhandle, and drink safely. All the things a tramp needs to know. The second facility was called the Western Slope First Street Catholic Charities Outreach Center. This was located another 2 blocks from the drop-in center, and in a general disdain for long-winded, meaningless names, was referred to by the residents of Bum Park as SOUP. Catholic Charities are highly regarded for the quality of the service they provide and for the respect and dignity they show towards the homeless. I was informed that Grand Junction also had a homeless shelter and a rescue mission. Both of these received poor reviews from the people I talked to in Bum Park. That the penniless poor people in need of help would scorn those offering altruistic assistance may seem to the uninitiated as being unappreciative. But amongst the impoverished, the people in the homeless helper industry are generally regarded with a healthy dose of skepticism. Most homeless helpers can be divided into the religious and the secular. Most secular homeless helpers work either for the government or for agencies that receive government funds. For these quasi-governmental homeless helpers, the homeless are but a paycheck. The agencies they work for receive money based on how many people they enroll in their programs. So, to these organizations, the need are numbers. Number in household, social security number of weeks unemployed, number of months without a home. These perpetual poverty programs and the miserly minions who staff them are the most unloved in the heartless homeless helper hierarchy. No one likes being treated like a number. For the religious homeless helper, the poor are a ticket to heaven. This is preferable to being a commodity, but not by much. Among the best are those who take to heart, what you do for the least, you do for the Lord. But a good many of these faith-based fraternities display no faith in faith itself. Instead, the hapless have-nots have become chits collected to gain the godly passage into a fantastical post-mortem paradise. These dubious disciples of the dour and demanding deity repeatedly resort to distortions and extortions, forcing the downtrodden denizens of deprivation to profess balefully bogus beliefs in a benevolent, bountiful benefactor. In order to receive their ragged rations, they must swap their sorrowful souls for a skimpy sandwich and a scanty slice of second-hand salvation. No one likes being beaten with a Bible. One day, after enjoying a satisfying meal at the soup kitchen, I returned to the park where I encountered another group of homeless helpers, a group that would eventually alter my destiny. My cynical first impression of these youngsters, their clever t-shirts, their clean-cut scruffiness, their anti-establishment pamphlets, I thought they were the other type of secular homeless helper, the college kid crusader type, for whom the downtrodden were not a paycheck, but a project, a grade on a term paper. I saw these youngsters as left-leaning liberal academics, for whom the homeless were a socio-economic subspecies to be studied like lab rats in a maze. But they were pleasant and they had donuts. One of the few things the homeless and the law enforcement community have in common is a love for donuts. I sat in their circle and listened while others spoke. I was surprised to learn that some in the circle were ruthless refugees like myself. And while some of the group attended college, they also had jobs, real working class jobs, that they depended on to pay their bills as well as to finance their projects. I was later to learn that they supported a plethora of positions, from Earth First to anti-war, from gay rights to fair trade. But on that day, at that meeting, they were discussing, not pontificating, on something they called Housing First, No More Deaths. They explained how in the previous year 16 people had died on the streets of Grand Junction. This number was disturbing, even to a road-hardened, sardonic curmudgeon such as myself. Most surprising was that rather than wasting their breath lambasting the indecency of a faithless and heartless bureaucracy, they were proposing real working solutions, solutions that we, not they, could implement. After the meeting, one of the group, an attractive young woman named Beth, asked me if I would be willing to help with a survey. Not just to fill one out, but to distribute them to other homeless folks and to help out those tramps who cannot or will not read and write. I agreed. It seemed to me to be a good way to meet the locals. I could find out who was kosher and who was flaky, who could be trusted and who was shaky. Helping them would help me to separate the harmless wingnut from the dangerous whack jobs. And I could help out some fresh-faced do-gooder kids in the process. I told Beth that if she would leave me some of the surveys, I would pass them out at the day center and also at soup, where I ate every day. Beth told me that she had not yet written a survey. Throughout the meeting, Beth had been furiously scribbling notes on a legal pad, and throughout the meeting, she had used these notes to refocus and reinforce the topics under discussion. Because of this, I thought she must be an academic, probably a sociologist. I also assumed that the survey was a pre-printed and prefatory approved form that asked for the usual unimportant and insignificant information: pant size and veteran status, favorite color and number in household. Just more meaningless facts and figures to be added up and analyzed. But Beth had something else in mind. She wanted to ask homeless folks what they thought, what their needs were, what they wanted. I thought this a novel concept among homeless helpers. Beth worked for 2 days putting together her questionnaire. She enlisted the help of an older homeless woman, a lady who was well known in the community. I began to suspect that there was more to these kids than just good copy and good intentions. In the weeks that followed, I helped out with the survey and regularly attended meetings at the park. I began to think of myself as part of this group. Housing First, No More Death became a component of my consciousness. I was invited to visit their home, a congenial cooperative habitation full of books, music, and video. Their cozy cottage contained a cornucopia of tracts, zines, essays, and pamphlets that they and their affiliates had created, copied, collected, and distributed. But their democratic domicile was no sedate sanatorium of scholarship. Their kitchen was the hectic hub of a Feed the Folks grassroots alliance with the delightful designation of solidarity, not charity. Under the direction of 2 of the group's youngest and most energetic associates. There were also parties and rap sessions. Cookies were baked. Children were cuddled, caressed, and cared for. The Housing First harmonious home of No More Deaths was a cerebral celebration of life, a passionate place where things got done. Intolerable injustices were addressed. Audacious actions were conceived and achieved, all without the help of lying, lunatic leaders or ruinous rodent rulers, without the need for bandit bosses or minuscule melodious masters. On the surface, these pamphlet printing do-gooders seemed harmless. They appeared to be just another passing generation, acting out their rites of passage. Angry youth pretending to shock their parents while their parents pretended to be shocked. Their elders had Elvis and they had Tupac, each side playing their part in turn until it was their time to join the assembly line of history. The larvae of radical youth morphing into the moths of respectable society and laying the eggs of their children's future scandalous but superfluous rebellions. This is truly the American way. Fad and fashion masquerading as social change, slogans and catchphrases disguised as ideals and ideals. This is not and has never been a threat to the status quo. In fact, this continuing charade is a built-in safety valve, protecting the system from any real resistance to its hierarchical corporate order. These young social activists wear the costumes and sport the accessories of disgruntled progeny. They call themselves anarchists, and thus allow mainstream America to dismiss them as idealistic dreamers and doe-eyed optimists who will soon be assimilated back into the fold by the harsh realities of this modern world. The great majority of Americans have been lulled to sleep by the monotonous drone of corporate media's incessant lullabies. These good citizen syncopaths will obliviously overlook these radical revolutionaries entirely, for these seditious subversives will never appear on American Idol. Those who are the watchers and the guardians of the system's security will not worry. They will remember the fat Elvis crewman in Vegas and the former flower power hippies who took jobs on Wall Street and voted for Reagan. They will remember and sneer at what they regard as the laughable naivete of youth. Meanwhile, the Merlins of Madison Avenue and the Magi of mega media remain confident in their capabilities to co-opt anything resembling counterculture. These presumptuous purveyors of pablum, who have made themselves masters in the marketing of militancy into mediocrity, emasculating Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X, they've turned Bob Marley and 50 Cent into just another face on a t-shirt. These hypocritical hustlers will see these kids as another trend to be exploited, another market segment to be sheared like sheep. They will all see these anarchists in this way, and they will all be woefully wrong. For theirs is not the comic opera caricature anarchism of Sacco and Vanzetti, nor is it the bumbling bombs and bullet anarchy of Leon Kolzoff. These anarchists have rejected these tactics, not for their awkward immorality, but for their insane inefficiency. These anarcho-kids are collectivists, and they are working towards, not talking about, a society based on cooperation, not coercion. They reject both the barbaric benevolence of Adam Smith's invisible hand of the free market and the equally malignant hands of Karl Marx's dictatorship of the proletariat. The secret to their subversion lies in their sincerity, yet they prefer progress to platitudes. Their politics are the art of the possible, without falling prey to the compromises of conformity. And because of this, they are the enemy of all this country holds sacred. They dare to hold the dignity of humanity above the sanctity of property, and may choose to do this without the dubious defensive armor of Christianity or the odious offensive ordinances of Marxism. Too late, I realized that for me to give ear to the progressive proposals was to become a co-conspirator to their treacherous treasons. I have turned my back on Mom, apple pie, NASCAR, and television, Old Glory, and foreign intervention. I have lost my faith in internet porn, imperialism, and no-fee checking. All the things that make America great have become tarnished before my eyes. It is too late for me. I have been edited and published, but maybe, just maybe, I can save another cynic from a similar fate. So be forewarned, America. These radicals and subversives are among you. They reject your mindless materialism and your conspicuous consumerism. They struggle to undermine your corrupt corporate capitalism. They renounce the tyranny of your $1, one vote democracy. So be afraid, America. Be very afraid. On the upside, they might bake you cookies.